Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, like I always say, welcome to the channel. Today is Friday, October 20th, 2023. Hope you're all doing very well and that you all had a great week. In today's video, I'm going to give you my recap of RP Fest 2023. I had touched upon it briefly in my September recap, but I had said that I wanted to talk about it in depth in its own video because I think it deserves to be talked about in its own video. And I wanted to wait till October because I feel like a lot of this video is consistent with the spirit of Blindness Awareness Month. So that's why we're talking about it here tonight. So I'm going to just take you guys through the sequence of events and, broadly speaking, how the weekend was, and that'll be the video. So brief backstory. So the six of us that go to RP Fest, this is the second year in a row. We did it last year too. The six of us met on an RP support group online on Facebook that has like 17,000 members in it, and each of the six of us happened to be individual guests on Mike Tubiak's podcast, Living Free with RP, and he felt connected to the five of us in a particular way, and he created a group chat. And long story short, he spearheaded the organization of this getting together for a long weekend that we have called RP Fest. So that's the very very brief backstory of RP Fest. And this year, uh, it last year it was Saturday Sunday, and this year it was Friday Saturday Sunday. We added a day at the front, but for me, it actually started on Thursday because for logistical reasons, it just made sense for me to fly from Pittsburgh to LaGuardia, from LaGuardia connection to Albany, be picked up by Ed's sister in Albany, and taken down to Ed's town where we meet for RP Fest, which is where we met last year. So I got to Ed's and seamlessly got through the airport as I do, with my cane and telling people I'm visually impaired and asking for assistance and getting assistance arranged through the airline and whatnot. So got to Ed's, and me and Ed, his wife, and a couple other family members went to the Gunk House, which is a bar and grill place locally to them that we went to last year that I really liked and is a favorite of theirs. And it is some of the best bar and grill food I've ever had. The burger and fries are phenomenal, and I highly recommend if you're ever in the Newburgh area. So that we did that, and then we went back to Ed's house and watched the Thursday night football game and just BS'd for like 3 hours. It felt like no time had passed at all because that's how it goes when we when you talk to people that you have so much in common with. So um, Thursday was a very very enjoyable day, and then the next day we went to the Danbury Mall to go pick up Steve, Mike, and Vinny in Connecticut, and brought them back to Ed's house. And then someone else had gotten Lance at the train station, and by excuse me, by the mid afternoon on Friday, everybody was at Ed's house, and a very very big difference between last year and this year. When we all got together this year, it was like it wasn't while we were still comfortable meeting for the first time last year. There was still sort of this circling idea that this was the first time we were doing this. And I don't know about the rest of the guys, but me, in the back of my mind, I'm like, how's this really going to go? I knew we were all going to get along because of how we had gotten along online, but it's almost like, how's this going to go? And the vibes and stuff like that. At least that's how I felt. This year was like just picking up right where we left off last year. And that was a key difference because it was just picking right up where we left off. And Friday, it rained. Another big difference from last year. Last year's weather was perfect. We were spoiled last year in mid-October. This year, in early September, it rained and rained and rained and rained and stormed hard on that Friday, the 8th. And that turned it from an outdoor camping event, which was last year for most of the guys. I actually slept inside last year, and so did somebody else. Not going to name names, but two of us aren't really camping types, and that's okay. And so we slept inside. And this year we all slept inside because it just we felt the general consensus was that it wasn't worth putting up the tents and doing all this stuff to be out there in the rain, especially as hard as it rained and it stormed. So we slept inside, but we had a very great dinner, really nice dinner on Friday night, and had camaraderie and laughs and jokes like you wouldn't believe. Like last year, like we joked around a lot about stuff related to RP, stuff not related to RP, but this year it was almost like it was a competition as to who could like roast somebody the most, and who could cut the deepest with their jokes. And it was like every time someone said something, it, it was like another person had to chime in with a joke and just see if they could just top something. It was really entertaining, really fun. It was really, really enjoyable. And that was Friday. It was like I said, we got rained out pretty much on Friday. Last year we did a lot of outdoor activities. We played disc golf. We played outside with the dogs. We still did stuff with the dogs inside though this year. And last year we rode the UTV around. Some of the guys drove it. I didn't drive it because I've been there, done that with driving all-terrain vehicles, and it didn't go very well for me back in the day. Um, but I we really enjoyed that night. And then Saturday morning, woke up, had a great breakfast, and the plan that day was to go on Ed's nephew's new speedboat that he bought. And when that was mentioned to me months ago, I was immediately nervous about it and really was going to avoid going on the boat because I'm a germaphobe, and I'm very germophobic for reasons pretty much related to having RP, but we'll talk about that maybe in another video someday. But I'm afraid of natural bodies of water. Not afraid of swimming at all. I'm a very, very good swimmer, but it was a germ thing. So I didn't end up going on the boat, and that's okay too. Um, but so the other five guys went, and a couple of Ed's other relatives, and me and Ed's sisters actually went and saw them go by on from land. And then we went to a Mexican restaurant and had some amazing food, and went back to Ed's house and swam for a couple hours, and did our own thing, and the guys came back and swam a little bit, and that was Saturday. But Saturday during the day, before they went on, I got to shout these guys out. Before they went on the boat trip that day, the little boat 3-hour tour that they went on, um, they surprised me with a Steelers ticket to the Monday Night Football game, the Steelers versus the Browns. And I have to shout these guys out for doing that. It was something that, because they knew that I wanted to go to the Raiders game in Las Vegas and didn't go because of the expense and whatnot. And they decided to buy me a ticket for the Browns game, which was on, I think, like the 18th. And I intended to go, but the closer it got to the event, the closer it got to that night, the more of a logistical issue it was for me. And I you know, didn't make sense for me to go for reasons that I'm not going to mention now. I talked about it with them, and we made that right. But again, just a very, very, very kind gesture that I'm very, very grateful for. Um, if I had it to do over again, though, I would go. I would have gone. It was a mistake not to go, but that's, like I said, we made it right. So um, yeah, so that was definitely a highlight. And then, like I said, they went on the boat trip. Me and a couple other folks did our thing. And then that night, it was clear enough weather-wise that we could build this awesome bonfire. And we actually, yeah, it was really, really a cool fire. And we hung out down in the back and for a few hours, and it rained on and off and stuff. But yeah, it was just more of the same stuff, laughing, joking, just being present with each other, and hanging out, and six guys who met each other in such a roundabout way, just that have a lot in common, but also have a lot of differences as well, you know, and I feel like those differences is really what makes our relationships with each other special. Not just my relationships with these guys who are some of my best friends, but with all of my friends that I have in my life, is that our differences is really what make things interesting. And yeah, we just enjoyed Saturday night in front of that hot fire, and it started to rain a little more than what I felt like dealing with. So I went back up to the house, and the rest kind of followed suit, you know, sometime later, and kind of turned in a little early, you know, maybe around midnight, which is early to turn in uh, for something like this. And yeah, we had a great time and on Saturday, and then Sunday morning, we were all supposed to part ways. Everybody was supposed to pretty much be cleared out of Ed's by about noon. However, I woke up and everybody was getting ready to leave, and I woke up that morning to a text from Delta saying that my flight from Albany to connecting in LaGuardia was canceled and postponed and rebooked from Sunday afternoon to Monday afternoon. So instead of being able to go home on Sunday afternoon like I was supposed to, I actually ended up going with Ed's sister, who picked me up in Albany days before, went back up to her house, which I've never been there before, in northern New York, even north of Albany. And um, she and her husband put me up for the night, and I spent the rest of the day and the night on their 60-acre hobby farm, and it was really really cool. I got to meet their horses. They have 9 horses. They have chickens. Got to see their property. Like I said, 60 acres. That's a large hobby farm. Took the UTV around the property through the woods and stuff, and I got to shovel out a stall for a little bit, you know, and you know, got to cross that off my bucket list. And I had a really good time with them, and I'm very grateful for them for, you know, allowing me to stay there that night and to make the most of my extended time in New York. Wake up on Monday morning, had breakfast, went to Albany Airport, flew down to LaGuardia, got on the plane at 4 o'clock like I was supposed to for my connecting flight. Once I got on the plane at 4 o'clock, we were told, once I was in my seat, that we were going to have at least a 1 hour delay because there was a lightning strike in the area. Okay. An hour later, there was another lightning strike. So we sat there for another hour. So it's about 6 o'clock. Right before the pilot came on and said, okay, we're about to start a taxi to the runway, and it's going to take probably another hour. About 15 minutes later, the pilot said, unfortunately, the flight's been canceled. Sorry, folks. So we all had to get off the plane, get into the rebooking line, and I waited in that rebooking line at LaGuardia for about 3 hours. And during that time, of course, I updated family and some friends about what was going on to keep them updated, obviously. And some people were taking it pretty well. Some people were way more nervous and anxious, which I understand because, you know, this legally blind person that they care about is stuck at his connecting city in the middle of Queens, New York. And to be honest with you guys, I was not nervous at all in this situation. Wasn't nervous, wasn't anxious. The only thing that annoyed me was that that this whole ordeal of being delayed with 2 canceled flights was, it was cutting into my week, and I like to be very very healthy and physically active during the week, and it was kind of messing that all up. But as far as the actual situation itself, it really didn't faze me at all. And some people were surprised at how little it affected me because, one, I knew that worst case scenario, if I had to choose between like leaving the airport and going to the airport hotel, that was ideal. But if that wasn't an option and it was either sleep in the airport or go find something else in the city, I was not about to do that because it was already nighttime and I wasn't going to be able to identify a car that was picking me up in the dark. And so I knew worst case scenario, I would just sleep in the airport, and would all be good. And the other reason why it didn't make me anxious is that I deal with more stressful situations sitting on this couch working every day than I did in that airport situation. So I'm standing in this line for 3 hours. People are telling airport employees are telling people in line, you're not going to get a room tonight. It's going to be booked. It's going to be booked, overbooked. You're not going to have a chance to, you're not going to be able to get a room. You're wasting your time. Well, I stayed in the line because A, I needed to get my flight rebooked anyway, and two, I needed see if I could get a room booked. Because even though they were saying you're not going to get a room booked, you're wasting your time, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I went up to the desk with my cane, said, "Can I rebook?" They rebooked me in 30 seconds for a flight for the next day. And then I asked, is there any space at the hotel, your Marriott half a mile away? And they looked, and there was. So again, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I had someone from the airport escort me to the bus terminal, which I would have never found. The shuttle terminal, I would have never found it on my own. I mean, it would have taken me hours. It was a very long walk through that airport, but I made it, and with the help of this escort, this employee of the airport who escorted me, and he waited with me, helped me identify the shuttle when it pulled up, got on the shuttle, and on the way to the hotel Marriott in Queens, we picked up a couple other people. Well, when those people got on the van, I had said, "Hey guys, are you going to the Marriott?" "Yes." "I'm visually impaired. Do you think you guys could help me get in there into the lobby?" And they said, "Yes, of course." And the one guy said, "Yeah, and the one guy identified himself as a pilot. And not only did this pilot, who I think was with American Airlines, not only did he get me into the lobby, but he also waited until I checked in, escorted me to my room, which was not close to the lobby, helped me get in, showed me where the lights were, and just went above and beyond what I would have ever expected anybody to do. And it was just very, very kind of him to do so. And it was about 10 p.m. by now, Friday night, the 11th. I ordered burger and fries, a couple bottles of water, ate that, passed out, woke up the next morning, got ready to go, called somebody down at the desk to come and get me at my room because it was dark and it was a long walk and it was very windy and maze-like getting back down to the lobby, and I knew that, so I wasn't about to put myself in through that unnecessarily. And so someone came up, brought me down. I checked out of the hotel, went outside, which was daylight. The shuttle pulled up. There happened to be two other pilots standing out there waiting for the shuttle. I asked them with my cane in hand, "May I hang out with you guys until I get situated at the airport?" They said yes. They helped me find a Delta Airlines employee. These were Delta pilots. They helped me find a Delta Airlines employee. They got me through the airport, through security, like they always do when I get assistance through the airline. And I got on my plane at LaGuardia and flew back to Pittsburgh. And I was home 48 hours late in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Tuesday evening. And I have to say that it was an event. It was definitely an adventure, and I have to say that it would not have gone as seamlessly as it did if I didn't have my cane and wasn't as forthright about my condition. Now, if I had not had my cane, I still could have navigated through this situation socially and physically, but it would have been way harder, and I would have had to do much more explanation than I ended up having to do than having a 4.5 foot, red and white cane in my hand. So yeah, I it was a seamless procedure because of the cane. And that's how this all ties into Blindness Awareness Month. I said in my last video about Blindness Awareness Month, just because someone might not look like they need the cane if they have one. I wear glasses, I use a smartphone without audio technology, I play sports, I do all these things. It doesn't mean that I don't need the cane in certain situations, i.e. an airport. While I might not actually need it physically, I find that it's much easier to get through certain situations socially and physically, really. Because when you're walking through an airport with a white cane, people will move out of your way. If you're walking through an airport without a white cane and you can't see very well, people don't know to move out of your way and can create some really awkward and unfortunate situations. So, if you have a cane and you don't use it when you travel, please use it when you travel. So it just makes your life easier. And I was raised to solve problems, not perfect, but I was raised to solve problems, not to, exacerbate them. So, yeah, so that's my recap of RP Fest. So may have missed some nuances, but that's basically the gist. So hope you all enjoyed this. Thank you to Mike and Steve, like again, for being the brains behind this operation. Thank you to Ed and his family for hosting and being so generous. And thank you to the rest of the guys for being my friends and bringing so much into my life. So that's it for today. Thank you all again. I will see you all in the next video.